as far as
What were they doing with the people who raped and you know these children? I heard
they
that they dumped them off in the Gulf somewhere.
I can't go there. I could tell you this. I watched with my own two eyes. I watched people. I mean, as far as I've heard what you're just saying, I met an ATF agent when I evacuated from the Superdome to Mesquite, Texas. From there, I went to Bozeman, Montana. I met an ATF agent up there one night. He worked the Superdome, and he personally told me that after the city was cleared out of there, they swept and cleaned it out. And he said a lot of people got shot and they punctured their lungs and dropped them off in the Gulf of Mexico. All right, but let me explain something to you there too. There's the wicked and the weak. You had people in there that had to loot for food, and you had people in there that were looting for their personal self. All right, stealing stuff, materialistic things that
Money and clothing and
Money,
ring,
TVs,
jewelry.
TVs.
I heard people, and I know they wasn't lying. I heard rumors coming in that they watched the NOPD breaking into stores on Canal Street. Other rumors about them breaking into the ATM machines, the video poke. All right, I personally watched them, not police officers. I watched people that were in the dome, evacuees, break into the suites, steal all the alcohol they started drinking. There was fight after fight. There was shoot. I mean, if you could only imagine sitting in a confined area like that and to hear a gun go off, right? I was 20 feet from where they shot the MP. I watched the whole thing. I can tell you where it was at. It was in the Saints end zone, on the edge of the locker room right there. I was sitting on the 10-yard line when it happened. When that happened, at this time we were 3 days into the storm, 3 or 4 days. The sewage backed up. There was so much urine and human waste on the floors. People were literally laying in it. We all went from the upper levels to the football field. The night they shot this MP, the people were all, 65,000 people were running from one end of the field. It happened, like I said, right there in the end zone where the football players go into the locker room. That's where the shooting took place. You had 65,000 people running from one end of the field to the other. The military came on pointing M16s at everybody. Everybody was scared to death. I sat right there, I never moved. I sat on the sideline bench and watched it. I got so tired of running from violence happening over here, violence happening over here, that I just sat there and put my faith in the Lord. I wasn't running no more. And I watched after these two people right here, there was two individuals that shot the MP. Then you had a hostage situation where they had to get them, all right? And they confined themselves into a bathroom or a locker room, which was right there in the end zone, going into the locker rooms. After 3 or 4 hours of sitting there, which I'm almost positive it was a Thursday night, they finally did what they had to do with the two that shot the MP, and they shot some kind of gas, some kind of chemical in there to get us out that morning. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, a little girl that I actually held for 2 or 3 days, right? Lost from her parents, sat there. I'm talking about an 8-year-old girl, grew up in the projects across the river, all right, in housing, public housing. She amazed me because she would sit right there. I mean, it was nothing to see a dead body in front of you from a seizure, from a diabetic attack. Newborn babies that didn't make it.
She was a black girl.
That was a little black girl. I'd say that her name was Latrice. She was 8 years old, and me and her, I kept her with me for 2 to 3 days. All right, she woke me up that morning. All right, we would stay in groups, like you would make friends with somebody and would stay and watch over each other. All right, and not to change the subject, but they also had a lot of prisoners that came in there. Supposedly, a lot of them got out. They said the roof blew off the Orleans Parish prison, which was in visual sight, which is on Tulane and Broad, which is, you could see it from the Superdome. Right? You had prisoners that I know came in there. I saw it when they were changing their clothes. They got out of the jail. Right?
Oh.
So that's where the raping could have came in. Right? I'm not pointing a finger at nobody, but the first 2 nights we never had nothing like that go on. After the water came up and you had so many people in there, that's when all the chaos started. I mean, I actually watched people coming from the convention center, coming in there, people beat up, people were shot, all right? So with a lot of, it was a killing zone. It was a killing zone. I can't explain it. In the city of New Orleans, I woke up in visual sight every morning. Not woke up. When I walked out, you didn't even want to go out on a ledge at nighttime. It was like a movie that you see that's over exaggerated. This was reality. It was there. It was happening. You would walk out in the mornings, and your visual sight, there wasn't one more spot in the air where a Black Hawk helicopter could fit. And the city was burning down in different places, various places. From there to the West Bank, I watched Oakwood Shopping Center burn down from the Superdome, which is on the West Bank.
Now, was that basically from arson?
All that was from arson and looting right there. But you know what? I watched, let me tell you something about in there. The food, we never got, at first they had food for the first night. And they ran out, and then there was a delay in the food. When the food got there, you stayed in line. They almost, before it got critical, they treated us like communists, really. All right, and I have a bad taste in my mouth about the military, I'm gonna be honest with you. I watched when you stood in line to get an MRE and a bottle of water for 6 to 8 hours sometimes, all right, literally to stand in. I watched people that would ask if they could get extra food for their parents. They're too weak to stand in the line.
Yeah.
And they would deny them, right? And I watched them say, no, you will give you 2, right? I watched, I mean, I don't understand it. I watched more people fight over this food, right? I don't understand why they did it like they did it. But the first, you got to figure too, they had people, the first 2 days you had food, and it went like a day and a half with no food. When the food got there, they could have did it different. For one thing, they should have never been left. Nobody should have been left in there that long. They could have got them out of there the first 2 days, and it had been over with. It went on, and if supposedly, I've never heard this, but there was a delay, like our governor, Blanco. They asked her what she was going to do about the situation. She said, give me 24 hours to think about it. 24 hours, you had another 30 dead bodies in there.
Yeah, at least so.
And that's another thing. They're saying there was only 10 people that died in there. I watched 4 deaths in front of me. Right? I watched.
What would they do with those bodies?
The bodies I saw, like I saw a suicide. I saw a man jump and kill himself. Right? I saw a man kill himself, and they would just leave him there until they could get a body bag. They were
they hit the door.
They were waiting for body bags if somebody was killed, they would have to leave them there until they could get them in a body bag. They were piling the bodies up in certain sections of the dome. I mean, you could only imagine what it smelled like. Right? Everybody, I literally watched the women going back to where they made us the last 2 days of the dome. We were out on the balcony. They shot a gas in there. Like I said, this little 6 to 9-year-old girl woke me up and said, you got to get up, the dome's on fire. This is after the night they shot the MP. Right? This little girl woke me up. When I looked, I saw the smoke coming out from the same section where they shot the MP. But you couldn't smell nothing burning. You're seeing hundreds of people running. Now you got 65,000 people running for one set of doors. After that, we stayed out on the ledge for 2 days. When we was out on the ledge for 2 days, I watched in front of my face, I watched 2 of them die of heat strokes. I watched a diabetic attack. Let me explain to you. If me and you were hanging together, and if we were sitting together for a period of time, and if they had somebody shot over here, or like when they shot the MP, and we separated, there was so many people, chances are we wouldn't see each other again. I mean, you heard of rumors over here, there was violence over here, there was, all right, so I'm hearing stuff that I never saw, and people are hearing stuff, I'm telling people things that I saw that they never saw. But there was so many accusations made like that. I mean, you had people sitting there where they were saying their baby died, or, you know, you had to be there. There was no, chances were, if I lost you, I wasn't going to see you again. When they put us out on the ledge, now you were in the sun 24 hours, 12 hours a day until the sun went down. Then you were sleeping at night with the mosquitoes, and you were sleeping in human waste. I watched women laying on the ground. There was no more restrooms for the women. The men could walk back into the restrooms, where supposedly that's where a lot of your rapes happened, in the bathrooms, all right?
Yeah.
All right, there were no lights in there. There was human waste on the floor, but the men could go in there and use the restroom on the floor, all right? women couldn't do that. The women were scared to go in there
Of course.
after
yeah.
the rumors of the rapes that were happening in the bathroom. I watched women